Would you pray with me a moment? Gracious God, move among us now. Wake us up. Help us to be attentive to what you might have us hear this day. For we are all on the path. We're all on the journey. We are work-in-progress Christians. And we need your help and your guidance, your discernment, your challenge, and your holy presence. Meet us where we are and take us where you would have us go as your people in the world, alive for justice and peace. And the people were heard to say, Amen. So I'm starting a new series on the leading causes of life, which you might contrast with what you're used to hearing, leading causes of death. So we're going to focus on leading causes of life. But before we do that, what I'd like to do is connect the season of stewardship with this preaching theme. So stewardship, especially for those of you who are visiting, you might think, oh my gosh, I come and it's the first time and they're going to talk about money. Well, not exactly. But if you search the Gospels, you'll discover that Jesus talked a lot about money because they knew the importance of it as a way of valuing people and knowing that resources had to be spread in a way that was equitable so that all got what they needed. So it's an important topic. But I'm not going to bore you with a lot of, give us your money, because actually that's not the message. So what is stewardship? When you think of the word steward, if you were a steward, what would your job be? Taking care of things. Yeah. Serving the people. I think about steward in particular, an intentional, prayerful allocation of essential resources. How's that sound? That just kind of perked out in me yesterday. I was on, sounding pretty good, right? But yet, wait, there's more. Because if those allocations don't actually support and grow our mission, it's probably not good stewardship. So it's connected to mission. So I ask, what is our mission? Now, if you look at the back of your bulletin, you'll see that we have a really outstanding and thorough mission statement. It's on the back cover of the bulletin. And this was a process when we went through some strategic planning, so it's a wonderful mission statement. And in typical UCC fashion, it doesn't leave anything out. So that means it's long, which means if you're anything like I am, you can't always remember it, right? So do you ever feel like this little face right here? I would like it so that if somebody asked us what our mission, what's your mission? You'd be able to say it without showing them a 14-page document. So I started thinking about shorter versions, maybe, of the vision statement. So I came up with, to infuse our world with acts of intentional kindness. How many of you have seen the bumper sticker, random acts of kindness? Well, that means you're kind when you feel like it. That isn't the Christian path. It's intentional kindness, not random kindness. So I also thought, well, what about teach and practice the way of Jesus? We could probably all remember that. Or to make the world a more compassionate place for all people. You with me so far? Are these kind of moving you, or are you just kind of... Now the next one, you'll notice I'm a typical UCC minister, so now it's creeping, right? It gets word creep. So I don't want to lose anything. To build and nurture a community of persons who are willing to live as Jesus did, to bring faith, hope, and love into the world. But my guess is in the elevator, you'd probably not remember that. To advocate and work for the well-being of the earth and all its inhabitants. That's kind of nice, right? Not sure you'd remember it. This one I think you'd remember. to embody loving kindness. Now think about that for a minute. Let's say you wanted to embody physical fitness. If you were going to embody physical fitness, you would have to have regular regimented exercise. You'd have to watch your diet. You'd have to get plenty of rest. It would take all of who you are. It would take your head, take your heart, it would take your body. So when we embody loving kindness, it takes all of who we are. Our heads, our hearts, and our bodies. So our mission, I think, is to embody loving kindness. Can you go along with that? That's good because I'm in charge right now, and there are lots of options up there, but let's go with mine because we don't have time to discuss the whole thing. But when you think about embodying loving kindness, the things that we do as a church, when we worship, the whole point of our worship is to encounter God so that we might know that we are loved, and so that we might then be able to go out and express loving kindness for ourselves and for others. And the other thing that we do in church is we create community. Most of us want to feel like we belong, and that if we show up, showing up matters, and if we don't show up, someone will actually notice. Right? We all long to belong to a group of people who are working together, and I believe in the church to make the world a better place. But I think we're also about faith formation. And that is also about embodying loving kindness, isn't it? If your son or daughter goes to Sunday school, you hope that when they come out of that experience, that it will help them embody loving kindness. Have you heard it enough yet? One more. Mission and outreach, service and social justice. Isn't that about embodying loving kindness? Now that might mean that we gotta stand up and maybe even get a little angry to challenge the powers that would just as soon not make sure everybody's taken care of and make sure that those with power get exactly what they want. The church has always been a thorn in the flesh to Caesar. That's part of our identity. And we should revel in it. Because if we don't, who's going to? So let's get personal here for a minute, because we're going to talk about stewardship, and sometimes people are like, well, who is on that stewardship committee anyway? In the United Church of Christ, we like to know who's behind everything, right? Because the local church is where it's at. So I'll think about stewardship as soon as I know who's doing something about it. Well, here we go. There's Heather Griffo, and there's Meredith Gordon, and there's Paige and Angst, and there's Durr. And I'm just pondering, should my picture be up here or shouldn't it? Because Beth's picture should be up there, our program coordinator, Ken Bussell. But this is our stewardship team. Some of these people you might know if you've been a long timer, and some of you might, if you're new, you probably won't recognize any of these people, but you'll hear from them in a little bit. So we met back in, was it June? Heather, was that the first time we met? And we started brainstorming. How can we talk about time, talent, and treasure, knowing that we are living in a world that's very chaotic and uncertain? So as we talked and as we brainstormed, it sort of came out, our theme for stewardship should be living abundantly in uncertain times. Well, we know about the uncertain times, don't we? This is Houston. I could have had a picture of Puerto Rico up there too. Here's a picture of the missile firing from North Korea. That was certainly an unsettling event. This is a picture of Jeremy Christian, and this is also endemic of what happened in Charlottesville. We know that there's a lot of anger out there, and we need to battle white supremacy and white privilege. And how many of you remember Eagle Creek or Eagle Crest? Eagle Creek, and the fires and the smoke and Are we living in uncertain times? Probably always have lived in uncertain times. That's also the thing we have to remember. So, living abundantly. To live abundantly, I want to focus more on the leading causes of life rather than the leading causes of death. So, for our first experiment, the sermon series is going to be based on this book, and it's also going to be drawing resources from the Worship Design Studio, which is Reverend Marcia McPhee. So I want you to look at this picture for a minute. It's a fallen leaf. It is in a stream. It is disconnected from the tree. So look at that for a minute and just let that image speak to you. So if you're anything like I am, autumn is a season where I'm more focused on death because the leaves are falling and winter is coming and the days are getting shorter, and it's easy to look at this picture and see the end of life. However, you could also look at this picture as water carrying along the purpose of life. This leaf is going to degenerate and it's going to turn into other stuff that will bring life. So it's how we look at it. So we're going to spend some time looking at where is our focus, where is our energy, where is our attention, where does our imagination go? Where does it go? If you're anything like I am, you may be or you may not be, in these uncertain times, I can get sucked into the chaos. I can watch the news for a while and then feel like I can't look at this anymore. It's easy to get pulled into, and death is a metaphor, meaning the destructive forces in the world. It's easy to get pulled into them. But just remember that the cross, which is hidden, unfortunately, behind the screen, our consummate Christian symbol is that death does not have the final word. And it is through death that life happens. So we don't look at that cross and think if it doesn't have the ugly, gruesome Jesus bleeding all over the place because he has risen. Which is why in Deuteronomy, the wisdom is, I put before you life and death, choose life. And after Jesus was resurrected, everybody was looking around in the tombs. Where's Jesus? Where's Jesus? And thank God some angel said, why are you looking in the places where dead people are? He's not dead. He's alive. Don't look at death. Now, that's not to say that death isn't real and we just can't kind of pretend that it's not real. We kind of live in a society that struggles with aging and worships youth. But I'm thinking more about the bigger picture of life as it is in community and as a church. And it's ongoing. So we're going to be looking at our attention and our imagination. And we're going to talk each week about a key piece of a leading cause of life. First one, connection. Think relationship. Think community. Think being connected to God, to self, and to others. Now, it might seem odd to say be connected to yourself, but I would guess that most of us struggle with even being connected with who we are, which is part of the challenge. It's okay to be connected to who you are. Because God loves you knowing who you are through and through. And has said, by the way, I love you. Coherence. This is the second leading cause of life. Is there a coherence or is there connection between how it is that you spend most of your life energy and is it connected with a purpose and meaning? That's coherence. I bet we all know what it's like to live with coherence missing. Oh, I can't. Why get up in the morning? Why? As opposed to, wow, I can't wait to get up. Right? Haven't we all been there? We know the difference between coherence and dissonance, so to speak. It's also called, this is another sort of way of understanding vocation. When you are connected, when you're doing what the world needs doing, and it's what lights you up, that's coherence. Agency, the choice to take action or to do something. Don't we all need to be able to do something? Even if you're not able to do the things that you've always done in your life, this might be a challenge for you to say, what can I do now? Because we can get stuck with what we can't do anymore. That's a challenge for all of us. Blessing, freely given affirmation of value. Ah, blessing. It can just be liberating. Do you know what it is to be blessed? Do you know what it is to be cursed? Yeah. Blessing. So it's life-giving. Hope. Now some people accuse church folks of just kind of pie in the sky, wishful thinking. That isn't hope. Hope is grounded in an expectation of goodness happening even when it looks like all hell is breaking loose. Expecting goodness. Expecting something to happen, expecting reconciliation, expecting restoration, expecting. If we didn't have hope, it would be another one of those, why bother? Right? And finally, the most critical piece in leading causes of life is that Jesus said in John's Gospel, I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. So we're going to explore that over the next few weeks. I hope that you'll come. I hope that you'll bring questions as you come into worship. Next week we'll be talking about connection, community for the next 2 weeks. What is it about participating and being connected to a community, especially this community, that gives you value and purpose and makes you feel like you are worth something. Not just something, but you are beloved. That's an identity that can never be taken away from any of us. So may you cogitate on these things. May you prayerfully discern them. May you move into the world believing that some of this is true. And you'll see a difference in yourself and in others. The people were heard to say, Amen. Amen.